It is finally time for Cyber Dragons.
YugiNoNo! Prepare!
Alright guys, I am so excited to show you this. It has been way too long. As you all know, Cyber Dragons are one of my favorite decks of all time. They still have mad potential even in today's crazy meta with Pendulums running around and Cosmos and Mermails running around at full strength. Even with all of those decks being as powerful as they are, they cannot escape the Power Bond OTK. So starting off the deck profile, we have the 3 Cyber Dragon, the heart and soul of the deck, the monster that started it all. Then we play 3 of probably the best card in the deck, Cyber Dragon Core. This guy searches out your search card and banishes itself from your graveyard and special summons a Cyber Dragon from your deck. The only thing bad about this card is that its attack is just so damn low. But I guess every deck has its drawback though. We're playing 3 Dry. This guy makes all Cyber Dragons you control level 5, so you can go into that Nova and then possibly, if you want to, go into Infinity. But also, don't forget about this guy's secondary effect. When it's banished, you can target 1 Cyber Dragon monster you control. It cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects until the end of the turn. That's something that a lot of people forget about, so don't forget that, especially because we are playing Overload Fusion in this deck. Then to round up my usual Cyber lineup is Eltonin. I call him Gurren Lagann. He's just an amazing card. It gets rid of problems, and he can actually win you games because he can just get really, really big and attack over anything. So that is my usual Cyber Monster lineup, but since we are playing 2 Overload Fusions along with the Power Bonds, we're gonna have to play the Zwei too. Zwei is actually really bad. Its best effect is being Cyber Dragon in the graveyard, but Dry and Core have that same effect. I mean, you can reveal a spell to make him go up to 1800 attack, but that's just nothing. He should be 1800 by default, and you should reveal a spell to make him 21. That would make him a decent card. But until we get another Cyber Dragon to play, we're kind of stuck with this guy. And that is it for the Cyber Monsters. We're going to move on to the Galaxy Soldiers. This is an excellent discard outlet. It's a level 5 that you can special summon, and then it searches another copy of itself. This guy helps with your Nova Loop combos, where you could just get like 2 Novas on the field and just like OTK. Not to mention, since he's a light machine, you could search him off a Cyber Repair Plant, just like Cyber Dragon or any of these monsters in this pile. You could search off Cyber Repair Plant, even Eltonin. Moving on to the last 3 monsters to round this up, we play 2 Maxi, because Maxi just gives you insane draw power at times, plus it stops your opponent's plays if they don't want to continue. And I side the 3rd Maxi because I couldn't will myself to cut Honest completely from the deck because it's come in clutch for me too many times. And Honest is kind of dead. I mean, it's a monster to set, and you can also actually pitch it off a Galaxy Soldier, so it kind of has its uses. But that is it for the monsters. That is 18 monsters in total. To the spells, we play 3 Cyber Repair Plant, the search card. The search card is just amazing. I love this card. Plus, you can recycle Cyber Dragons from your graveyard back into the main deck, which actually really comes in handy. This card is just awesome. Then you play the 3 Upstart Goblins because this is an OTK deck, and you get so much damage on board that you don't even care about the 1,000 life points you're giving your opponent. You just want to see that Power Bond faster. Speaking of Power Bond, we play 3 Power Bond, of course, and then I play the 2 Overload Fusions. The reason for all the fusions is, of course, because of Rampage Dragon, which is probably the MVP. That card literally puts Cyber Dragons back on the map way more than Infinity. I cannot stress that enough. And being able to Power Bond into Rampage and have it attack 3 times at 4,200 attack is just insane. And then after Overload Fusion, we have 2 Machine Duplications. This, of course, should combo with Cyber Dragon Core, so you can go ahead and get Cyber Dragons from your deck for free. This card is just amazing, and then you play 2 Instant Fusions to go into more rank 5 plays. It just helps make the deck even more consistent. And for the last 4 spells, you play 1 Limiter Removal, of course. Like, this card just like makes your OTKs go off even harder. This card will never be at more than 1 for a reason. This card alone wins games. It is insane. And then I cut the MSTs from the deck and added 2 Twin Twisters, just because you have to ensure your OTKs with Rampage Dragon. And it's another discard outlet for the deck to make Cyber Repair Plant live, so this card actually has some synergy in the deck. It gets that back row off the board, then you get out Rampage and maybe pop a scale, and then you just have your opponent's field completely clear, and then of course just stab them for game, which is intense. And the last spell I play is 1 Day of Peace, just because it takes the burn away from Power Bond. It's an extra draw card. Now, there's 2 spells that I absolutely wanted to make room for, but I couldn't make room for. The first spell is Raigeki, which I'm siding. And the second spell is Foolish Burial, which is pretty good in the deck, but in testing with the discard outlets, it kind of makes up for the lack of Foolish Burial. But of course, if you guys can make room for that card, that would be great. I just couldn't figure out how to do it. But the last 3 cards you play in the main deck to make it 40 cards, of course, are the 3 Reckless Greeds. This card, I cannot stress enough. If you're playing Cyber Dragons, you have to play this card because you need to see the Power Bond, you need to see the Overload Fusion, you gotta see the rank 5 plays, you gotta see something. This card is chainable. If they try to, like, you know, Dragon Pit it or MST it or Twin Twister it, like whatever they play, you can just chain it and draw 2 cards. And it's always funny during the battle phase when you Reckless Greed into an Honest. Like, it just blows their minds. Now to the extra deck, we play 2 Rampage Dragon MVP. I cannot stress this enough. It pops spells and traps on the field equal to the monsters that you used for its fusion summon, and then once per turn you can send up to 2 Cyber Dragon monsters from your main deck to the graveyard to have this gain additional attacks. Why that's such a big deal is because you can Power Bond into this thing, make it 4200 attack, and attack 3 times. It effectively replaces this guy, although I still do play the 1 copy of Cyber Twin Dragon just because he gets up to 56 and can attack twice. And another reason why I actually still play this card is because Rampage Dragon is a dark and this is a light, so you can use Honest with this. And just to have another Overload Fusion target, I play the Chimera Tech Over Dragon. The only reason for that is that this can get really big off of Overload Fusion, and this will just come out as 21, so this can get over problems, whereas this guy can't. And then for the instant fusion targets, you play 1 Panzer Dragon, you play 1 Parapsychroid, which you can also actually Power Bond into Parapsychroid using 2 machines with the same name, so you can actually use 2 Cyber Dragons to summon it, or even 2 of the Galaxy Soldiers to summon this. And then of course with Power Bond, its attack gets doubled, so it can attack for 3200 straight. And then I play 2 Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon. This is solely for Cosmos, just to be able to out their big ships. I mean, this deck has a mad good Cosmo matchup. I mean, they summon Dark Destroyer, they summon Eclipser, they summon Forerunner. I don't care what they get out. You can just go ahead and normal summon a Cyber Dragon Core, search your search card, and then just instantly out the thing with this. And then for the final fusion of the deck, we have Barbaroid. Barbaroid you get out when Cyber Dragon Nova dies. I cannot stress that enough. When Cyber Dragon Nova dies, you get this guy out. You have other targets, but you really want to get this guy out because he's 4000 attack, 4000 defense, he does 1000 damage to your opponent for every monster that he destroys, and he negates opponent's monsters' effects that activate in the graveyard, so you know what that means, right? On top of Chimera Tech being able to out the Cosmo bosses, this will also out every single Cosmo boss monster. This will effectively get over a Dark Destroyer, burn for 1000, and the Dark Destroyer will not be able to replace itself. But rounding up the extra deck, you play 2 Nova. Sometimes I want a 3rd one, but like not enough situations arise where I can make the 3rd one, so the 2 is fine. And then in testing, I was actually about to order a 2nd Infinity, but after testing, I never actually use it. Like, I don't ever go into the 2nd Infinity, so I'm just gonna stay at 1 for now. Actually, even after testing Pepe, Infinity is not as powerful as we were led to believe it was gonna be. The format has just changed so much since we were first playing this card online. Don't get me wrong though, this card is amazing. And for the last 3 monsters in the extra deck, you play 1 Zenmayo, 1 Pleiades, and 1 Volcasaurus. These 3 cards actually have mad utility because this pops set cards, this bounces everything, and then this guy is like your cowboy and just burns for damage. Now moving on to the side deck, you play 3 DNA Surgery, of course. This card combos with Fortress Dragon to get over anything and everything. This card is a staple in the Cyber Dragon side. And then I'm siding 3 Mischief of the Gnomes because it's chainable and it actually pairs really well with Twin Twisters. And then I'm playing 1 Rivalry. I'll probably end up playing more because this card is extremely good. And then I play 1 and the Band Played On. The trick with this card is with Dry, since it comes out as a level 4 and then goes up to level 5, it actually gets around this card. So I might end up actually playing more of it as well. And then I always side 1 spell, which is the Raigeki. And the monsters I side the 1 Max C, the extra Max C, and then I play 2 Effect Veilers. Effect Veiler I keep going back and forth about, but this card stops your opponent's plays, and that's really good. And the last 3 cards, I'm actually going to have to proxy 2 of them, but it's Swift Scarecrow. This card in Cyber Dragons is way better than Threatening Roar and Wabaku. Just because those cards only have 1 use, whereas this you can potentially get 2. Because of Scarecrow hand clogs, you can always power bond into Parapsychroid. So yeah, there's still some testing that needs to go on with the side deck, but overall I think it's pretty solid. But yeah guys, that is it for the deck profile. This deck still has mad potential and I love playing it. And I will definitely keep adjusting this deck for every format and upload a new video for every format. But go ahead and tell me what you guys think about this deck down in the comment section. And as always, if you like this video, then dick slap that like button and subscribe.
Subscribe.